Hey everyone, so today we're going to be talking about multi-step equations. So again, just kind of go through the general steps for solving a multi-step equation. The first thing you're going to want to do anytime you have a multi-step equation, and again, this is kind of a checklist. If you can't do this thing, you're just going to move on and do the next thing. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to distribute if you can. So if you see a pair of parentheses, the first thing you want to do is distribute. Next, you would combine like terms. So that's where you look on each side of the equal sign and look for a like term. Next is you're going to look to see if there's variables on both sides. If there are, you got to move the variable to one side. If you've done those three things, the last, or what's left, should be pretty much just be a party problem. And this is generally what you're going to do when you go through a multi-step equation. Okay, so once you get to this last step, party problem, you just solve. Okay. But there is one exception to that, and I'll go over that in a second. But let's look at an example. So let's start with our number one here. So again, the first thing I'm going to want to do is look to see if there's anything to distribute. So, hey, look, there's a parenthesis right there. That means there's something in front that I can distribute, right? So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute that 8 into the parenthesis. So I'm going to multiply 8 by 5 and 8 by negative 8. That's going to give me a new equation here. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times negative 8 would be negative 64n. And then I still have this minus 1. Okay. Now the next step is I need to combine like terms. So this is where we look on each side of the equation. So there's only one term on that side, so there's no like terms. This side we have 40 and we have a negative 1. So we can combine those. And 40 plus a negative 1 would be 39, right? So I'm going to get 295 is equal to negative 64 plus 39. Always take the sign of the larger number, right? Sorry, that's a 64n. Okay. Then it's just a party problem. There's only one variable, so you don't even worry about moving the variable. It's just a two-step equation. We've got a best friend and an acquaintance. So the acquaintance would leave first, so we'd have to subtract 39 from each side. So 295 minus 39. I just dropped my calculator. 295 minus 39 is 256. So you'd get 256 is equal to negative 64n. Okay, then my last step is to get rid of that best friend by dividing, because it's multiplying, so you got to divide it to each side. Divide by negative 64, and you're going to get n is equal to a negative 4. And that would be your answer. Okay, not too tough, right? Distribute, combine like terms, and then party problem. Okay, let me show you an example of a problem that doesn't necessarily follow this list here. And that would be like number 5. These types of problems, you can see a party right there, right? We've got a best friend, acquaintance, and a creeper. So these types of problems, we have what we call the party blob. Okay? And that's cool. It's not that much harder than what we just did. The thing that you do here is you're trying to get the party blob by itself. And then you just solve the party. So in this situation, we need to get rid of this 9 to the other side. Okay? So you would minus the 9 to each side to get this little party blob by itself. And that would be negative 24. And now we just got to get rid of our party. So get rid of the creeper, the acquaintance, and the best friend, right? So we got the creeper here. We're going to get rid of him by multiplying each side by 2. And we get 3x plus 3 is equal to negative 48. And then minus the 3 gives you 3x is equal to negative 51. And the last step is we're going to divide by 3. Negative 51 divided by 3. X is going to equal negative 17. That's your answer. So again, this wasn't too hard. You just got the party by itself by getting rid of that 9, that extra little business, and you just got rid of the party like normal. Okay, let's do one more. Let's look at a little bit of a bigger problem here. Let's look at this problem right here. So again, we're going to follow our steps. So we're going to look to see if there's anything I can distribute. Nothing I can distribute here. So then I move on to my next step, combine like terms. So I cover up each side, and I'm looking on each side of the equation if there's any like terms. So I have a 2, and then a number with a variable, so those aren't like terms. And then this side, I've got a -6, a number with a variable, and then a -6, and then a 6. All those 6s can be combined, right? Those are like terms. So we're going to combine them. -6, -6, +6. Okay? These two basically just cancel each other out, right? And we're going to be left with a -6. And then we still have that 4n is equal to 2 plus 3n. Okay, now we're going to move the variable to one side. So to move a variable, it's just like moving any number. You're going to add or subtract it. Okay, the only time we divide these types of numbers is if we're trying to separate that number from the variable. But if we want to move the entire term, then we just add or subtract just like any other number. Okay, it doesn't matter which one you move, you're going to get the same answer either way. You can move from left to right, right to left. I usually like to move the smaller number, so in this case that would be 3n. Okay, so to move it, since it's a +3, I'm going to subtract 3n from each side. And then 3n minus 3n is 0, right? Cancels it out. And you're left with 2 is equal to 4 minus 3 is 1n. So I can put a 1n there, or, I mean, that's the same thing as just n, right? So usually when it's just 1n, you just write n. Okay? -6. And now it's just a one-step equation. So the last thing I'm going to do here is that I'm going to add 6 to each side. And n is going to equal 8. And that's my answer. So again, if you have any questions, come talk to us. We like to answer questions and help you guys. It's a pretty fundamental skill, so ask all those questions, and I'll see you out there.